What's up, StaleMates? Welcome back to another show. This time we have the recap of the big weekend. We had senior nationals. A good, I'll say, internet friend of mine, John Kozak. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, man. How's
Yeah,
it going?
good, man. At Kozak John on Twitter. I'm sure you guys have seen his stuff by now. This man is single-handedly outworking everybody in the wrestling statistics game. He's on top of it. He tweets like no other. He wakes up at like freaking 4 in the morning. We got him here at 10 a.m. Central Time, hailing all the way from, I don't even know where you live, man.
Dayton, Ohio. Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio. Shout out to the Racers. Big weekend, though. Let's start off from the top. Day one, I believe it was on Friday. You had Greco and women's freestyle. What were some of your big takeaways that we saw? Obviously, there was some upsets. There was some maybe surprises to some people. What was your big takeaways from day one?
Yeah. I mean, I think the obvious one is you got Moda Pettis taking out Allie Reagan, who's a world silver medalist. And so that was, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Pettis, she graduated high school a year ago. She didn't even wrestle in college last year. So it's like, where did she come from? So that was definitely one of the biggest takeaways of the whole weekend for sure. That first day.
Absolutely. Another one that I was kind of course, I've been very noted on this show that I am more of a folk style college wrestling guy. I'm trying to figure out this whole Greco and freestyle and everything else. But one, for me personally, one of the cool things to see was Alex Thompson come away with the title there. Was that expected or not expected?
Yeah, not at all. And I was real interested to hear his story. So I listened to some of his interviews and stuff. And he was saying he only trained Greco for 1 week leading up to the tournament. And he was training freestyle for like 7 or 8 weeks prior. And he said it was his first Greco tournament since 2017. So, definitely didn't see that coming. Taking out Lamont and then, winning the title over Schwartz there. So, yeah, he was insane, man.
So we saw that I can't remember, a few months ago, Nebraska said they're bringing in Liam Cronin. And they're kind of the same way, both kind of 25-pounders. Alex Thompson looked pretty freaking huge. You think that that's kind of a tell that, he might be going up to 33, but then again at 33, they got Ridge Lovett. Of course, I don't know how it's going to work with all the, Olympic red shirts and whatnot, but does this up Alex Thompson's stock, or is this like you write it off, totally different style of wrestling? I'm not sure it's going to do much for him as far as the college season goes.
Yeah. If it were freestyle, I think you could make that like direct correlation to, okay, he's gonna make that jump in folk style. But again, listening to him, he talked about the weight cut last year and how hard it was being down. He even said below 130. So I can imagine that, those extra 5 pounds were really killer. But I think he's going to be at 33, and I think Lovett will be up at 41. He wrestled, what did he wrestle, 67 this past weekend. So I think just hearing him talk and hearing how he was motivated, how good he feels being up above 130, and he just felt like he had a lot of gas in the tank and was really ready to go. So I kind of just like that, that he felt good and he felt like that extra weight would really help him. So I think that'll pay off, for him next season if he wrestles, folk style. I bet you Matt Lindland though is going to be on him to go Greco and get him in there. But yes, I mean, it's cool to hear Thompson talk and how motivated he was for sure.
All right. A lot of people were saying there was a lot more college wrestlers this time around at senior nationals. What do you think that the cause of that was?
Yeah, I mean, probably just the lack of competition they've had over the last 6-7 months, and then their ability to be in the room and to train at in a consistent level. And so you hear Thompson and some other guys talk about how they were able to get in their rooms over the past 6 or 8 weeks. And I know for some of the senior level guys, their training has been way different. But I think the college atmosphere and the ones that have been able to get their training figured out, I think that really helped them get into senior nationals and feel like they were ready to go.
Did a lot of these guys, in your own mind, in your own opinion, Did a lot of these guys look rusty, or did, like, oh man, you could tell some of these guys had kind of been laid off for a long period of time and maybe not had the same access that other guys? Or did you think that business was just as usual this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Nothing really stood out to me. It was like, oh man, that guy's gas, and you can tell he hasn't wrestled in whatever 6 months. But I know I saw some things floating around. Ryan Mango, who's the big Greco guy, he put it out there on Twitter like, hey, we shouldn't call this U.S. Open because of the level of wrestling. And so he referenced like, hey, guys are wrestling with their legs straight. They're not wrestling through positions. So I don't know. I mean, he's more of an expert probably than I am, but I think as you saw the tournament progress and you got into like the semis or the finals, it was high level wrestling. But I would say probably what more is you had more of like, it almost felt like a U23 rather than like a senior nationals, because you didn't have top 5 guys at every single weight. You had a lot of college guys. So that's kind of how I would equate it. It felt more like a U23 or junior than a senior nationals.
Okay, that's a good comparison there. Earlier during quarantine, I felt like every day we got on Twitter and there was a new guy transferring, or even the girls were transferring around. Everybody was going to different clubs. There was kind of all this chaos going on, right? It started with Thomas Gilman, then we had Kyle Snyder, even Jaden Cox going to Ohio State. Out of the guys and girls that were there this weekend that transferred to a new club, did they all look impressive to you, or is anybody that looked like they may have taken a step back? What did you see from the people that, switched clubs, switched teams, and got new coaching staffs, fresh set of eyes on their, wrestling and whatnot? What did you see out of those guys? For example, you have Ironman, Snyder, Teskey, and I'm probably leaving out a few other ones, but what did you see out of everybody?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think with Teskey's a good sign, because he right off the bat beat Courtney, who was, I think, like a number 9 or 10 seed at nationals last year. So that's a good sign for Teskey. And then I think he lost to Camacho, kind of coming back through. So I thought he looked good. I think Ironman, I didn't really notice much of a difference with him. I mean, you could tell he was fired up, and it seemed like the crowd was playing and then there too. Were you there? Did you get to see the crowd reaction to Ironman at all, or anything like that?
I wasn't there in person. I was supposed to go, but I ended up not being able to go. But I did see. I went back. I'm a big Splato fan, so I had to go back and watch that match. And I think that was a pretty good, tip of the cap from the Hawkeye fans saying, "Hey, you're one of us now." So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah. What'd you make of the Snyder Gadsden thing? A lot of people saying that Snyder was bowing out because he was down. A lot of us know that's probably not the case. But what did you see out of that?
Man, I don't know. And if you see people go back and forth, was it his knee or was it his ankle? And I guess you hope it's his ankle, right? And is that a better recovery time? I don't know. There's 6 months till trials. I thought Gadsden looked good. I thought he was ready to go. But yeah, I mean, I think it's silly to think about Kyle Snyder defaulting out of a match because he's losing, right? That's not his character at all. But I mean, Snyder hit a cradle this weekend too. So I mean, maybe that's he picked that up from David Taylor or something like that. And then kind of back to your question about the guys changing. Evan Henderson, I didn't even realize he was at Cornell. So he transferred from North Carolina up to Cornell. So he had got a lot of good things to say about Cornell and being there. So and he looked good, Henderson. So yeah.
Let's stick with Evan Henderson there. He had a finals matchup against Andrew Alvarez. What did you make of that matchup? Was that shocking to you, or was that because he did have some hype behind him? It wasn't like Alvarez was a nobody. I'm a big Big 12 guy, and that he's been slowly flying under the radar for a little while now. Were you surprised by him, wrestling? And I believe he got the OW, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And he beat McKee and he beat McKenna. And then, of course, Henderson and Yaya Thomas as well. So yeah, he showed up, right? And I think the hype was there like a year ago when he went into college, and then his college season was just kind of like, it was really good, but he didn't really take anybody out of note. But yeah, I heard him kind of talk about going into this weekend, and he's like, I wanted people to know my last name. And so he was ready to go, and he put it on. And what's really interesting is he's not even qualified for the Olympic trials yet. He's still got to qualify. Ironman's still got to qualify. And a couple other high level guys at 65. But yeah, Liris was, man, he was every bit of living up to hype for sure.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this interview that you wake up really freaking early and you put out these tweets every morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. So I don't even know what time it is. You did it again today. You mentioned how stacked that weight class was. And basically you said that there's 3 opportunities for 3 more guys to make world team trials. You have to win NCAAs or the top 2 at the last chance qualifier. How do you think that shakes out with all those guys?
Yeah. So NCAA champ 2021. And then the last chance. So it's like, what is this season going to look like? I know a lot of guys kind of showed up to try to get the red shirts in. So yeah, for 65, it's like, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be a bunch of guys that are really high level that won't even make it to the trials. And so, like I said, you got Alirez, you got Thomas, you got Store in there. So yeah, 65 is going to be crazy. It's going to be a really fun weight class to watch, and 74 as well. Those weight classes are so deep, and a lot of guys that are left out. So I really hope Alirez can get in there and qualify and see what he can do next year.
We mentioned OW with Alvarez, then we have OW with Sarah Hildebrandt. What'd you see on the women's side this weekend? Obviously, the big upset with Ali Reagan. But what out of all the women's this year, all the women, which one, Hildebrandt, who else was kind of impressive as far as like performing above their seed?
Yeah. So yeah, Hildebrandt, again, listen to her talk. You could tell she was focused. She talked about coming in, shaking off the rust. But man, she was so far above everybody she wrestled last weekend. So she looked good. Forrest Molinari, I mean, she's a pinner, right? And so she kind of came out, sent the message. She's the clear, number 2 behind Tamira Mensah at 68. Adeline Gray, she just kind of does what you expect her, to do. But then you got Jennifer Page. She kind of really showed up. And this is only her third competition since 2017. So she got hurt. And so she came in and kind of proved herself. And she's training at Nittany Lion. And so we saw her, like a month ago or whatever, compete. So she looked really good. So she kind of put everybody on notice there at 62. So I was really impressed with her. And then you got Lauren Louvy at 57, where she took out Moda Pettis with the throw. And that's kind of been her best performance winning senior nationals. And then Fairnside, she beat Lampy, which that's her best win. Lampy was, multiple time world team member, medalist. So those are kind of the ladies that stood out to me over the weekend.
Okay, right on. Well, let's get into. We got some voicemails that I'm gonna play here. But before we do that, I want to know out of the whole field this year, give me a couple guys or girls that up their stock over the weekend, and some people that maybe their stock kind of went the other direction that you don't want it to go.
Yeah, Pletcher and Cruz, they had a tough weekend. Pletcher losing to Mathers and then to McKee. I think they're both tech falls too. So there was a lot of hype with Pletcher coming into the Olympic trials, and he had a tough weekend. And then Darren Cruz losing to Dylan Ragusan, and he's stock up, right? Nobody saw him coming. And then Ramos as well. So yeah, so Ragusan, he may have had the breakout performance just because he was in high school, 5 months ago,
right?
And he had made Greco teams, but never really did anything with freestyle. Rocky Elam, he's another guy stock up. He teched Max Dean, and he beat Brett Farr. He beat McFadden. So he had a good weekend as well. And then, I'd say even though Victoria Francis lost to Adeline Gray, I thought she looked really, really good. She came out of the 3 seed, beat Precious Bell to make it to the finals, and I thought you could kind of tell she was ready to go, and she was really prepared. So I was impressed with her coming into the finals against Gray.
Okay, right on. All right, well, I had you guys call in, leave your voicemails, your thoughts. We did it for the first time with the preview show with Oldest Greatest. We're going to do it again with John Kozak. We'll play these things, kind of react to them. There's only 2 this time around. The first one's really short. We kind of already touched on it, but we're going to play it anyways. So this is actually a response to last week. So last week, this gentleman named Wes Gerber called in, and he said that Allie Reagan was going to basically be wrestling herself all weekend, kind of saying that there was nobody else at this weight class. So this is a response to that. I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's kind of funny. It's not very long. It's about 14 seconds.
Yeah, I'm calling to leave a message for Wes Gerber. I want to let you know that your girl Allie Reagan got decked in the first period by an 18-year-old. She was wrestling more than herself.
Okay, well, that's it. Was that, I don't like to use the word fluke, but was that a one and done thing? If they wrestled 10 times, is that only going to happen one time, or is that, no, this girl's the next thing?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think she's the truth, right? I think she's the real deal, and she showed that by making the finals. The one thing I'd say about Reagan is she did get thrown at Worlds last year, so it's kind of concerning, and you hope, because how good she is, you hope she kind of corrects that. But in the way that she kind of stood straight up into it, and Pettis timed it perfectly, I'd love to see that as a 6-minute match and see what Mota Pettis can do 6 minutes against Reagan.
All right. This next one here is about 2 minutes and 55 seconds. So stay with me here, but there's a lot of good stuff kind of in this. So stay with me here. I actually don't. Oh, this guy's name is. I'm gonna double check real quick. I believe it's Dylan Morrison. Yeah, Dylan Morrison. So this is what he says. He calls himself the Brain. Here we go.
Yo, it's the Brain with Senior National Recap. 57 kilogram. Vito did what Vito does. That's put on a show for the people. His style is fun to watch, and we got to see that match that we missed for the Beat the Streets against Mueller in the semis. In the finals, he took out the young buck, true freshman Dylan Ragusin of Clip Keen Wrestling Club. In the finals, Ragusin caught the eye of wrestling world after beating former NCAA champion Darian Cruz in the second round 7-6. And Cruz was winning a national title in 2017. Dylan was just a freshman in high school. 65 kilograms, number 9 seed. Larez of UNC had an impressive weekend, beating McKenna 6-4 and Yaya Thomas 7-1 before taking out Evan Henderson in the finals 5-1. Larez will definitely be someone to watch in the next several months leading up to the trials. Someone who made some noise early in the tournament but didn't place was Rob Mathers. He opened up the tournament with a tech fall over Luke Pletcher 15-4 and another tech 10-0 over two-time NCAA champ Dean Heil before his knees got weak and his arms were too heavy and lost to Henderson in the quarters and storing the wrestlebacks. 74 kilograms. Massa looked tough in the final, shutting down Valencia's offense and picked him apart for the tech. After his win against Bexod on the Rock Thin card and putting on a solid performance this weekend, he's shown that he's making a run the next year at 74 kilograms. 86 kilograms. It was nice to see Gabe Dean back on the mats with the C on his bicep and the looks of a bear. I didn't know if that was Cornell's assistant coach or if it was their mascot this weekend. His usual offense wasn't quite there in the semi win over Hidley or the finals over Jackson, but his solid positioning hasn't left. If he chooses to stay with it through 2021, I'll be excited in the wrinkles he adds to this weight. At 97 kilograms, first off, I'd like to say I hope Kyle Snyder is all right. Not sure when the injury occurred, but Gaston looked pretty tough in his offense during the match. Maybe a little confidence that Gaston needed against a guy that seemed to have his number. Though we didn't see the Buckeye versus Buckeye showdown in the finals, we did get to see the levels Colin Moore jumped in the finals with his win over Gadsden. 125 kilograms, Mason Paris is going to be a threat to 2020 Swarm. He has proven against his athleticism.
That's pretty much it right there. So a lot of the stuff right there that was just kind of just a a brief recap there. But I want to touch on a couple things that he brought up there. He brought up the Hidley situation. What happened there? I actually didn't get to catch that one, but there was some controversy there. Did you get to see that one?
Are you talking about Hidley Valencia, I believe?
Yeah, there was a point taken away. Yeah. What did you get? What did you see from that?
Yeah, so there were 3 separate times where Hidley was finishing a shot towards the edge of the mat. And in freestyle, they have continuation. So where if you're in on a shot, you can continue it through like the progression of the move. And so he did that 3 times, and 3 times kind of ran Valencia into the ground as he finished the shot. So the first 2 times he got step out points. And then the 3rd time they gave him a caution and Valencia a point. And so kind of doesn't make much sense because the first 2 times he didn't get warned for doing it. And the 3rd time he gets warned for doing it. So he went on Twitter and kind of posted something. I forget what it was, but he's like, I apologize to nobody for my actions. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Another kind of controversial match, at least somebody had kind of put it in my ear as controversial. David Carr and Ryan Deacon, there was some weird scoring going on there. Did you agree with the calls that were made?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, they wrestled twice. So they wrestled on the first time. Yeah. So the first time David Carr, came out on top there. And I just think that's kind of one of those things with freestyle is it is open to interpretation. And, David Carr is an animal when it comes to the freestyle scene. So I thought they were called okay. I wasn't too upset with anything. I didn't think it was egregious or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, John, I appreciate you coming on today. Go ahead and give them your Twitter and shout out kind of what you do, I guess, a little bit for me.
Yeah. Kozak John. And I really like international freestyle wrestling. Kind of basically all the things that I've wanted over like the past years of following of like stats and info and match results are what I've decided to start doing over the past year. So if you like freestyle wrestling, if you want to know more about it, feel free to follow me on Twitter.
Let me throw you to the wolves real quick. I didn't give you this question written down. I just thought of it off the top of my head, though.
All good.
You're a big stats guy. I love random stats that, like, people are like, who would have ever looked that up and found out that was a stat? Was there any stats in this weekend that you might have found out that people weren't really talking about, or what was a wild stat from this weekend?
Oh, well, one of the first things that I noticed was the the boring 1-to-1 Jackson Dean.
Yeah.
And I've gone through my database of like 50,000 matches or whatever. And a 1-to-1 match happens 1 in 1,000 times. So,
wow.
That's exciting, right?
Yeah, well, I threw you to the wolves there. I was going to see if you were going to sink or swim. You definitely swam there. I was going to tell you, man, if you don't have anything, I'll just edit that out, but we'll leave that in there. Follow him on Twitter, everybody. If you guys like this show, give it a thumbs up, comment, let us know what we were wrong about. Let us know what you liked. Call in 515-412-4269. Let us know your thoughts. I appreciate everybody for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.